Welcome to another edition of Hey Bobby with Vice President of the Cleveland Indians, Bobby DiBiasio with us. And of course, Hey Bobby is brought to you by NECA-IBEW. Hey Bobby, last week we spent the whole show talking about the name change to the Guardians, but we didn't get time to talk a little bit about the way it was presented to all of us. At least the way I found out about it was on social media when it popped up in front of me with the video that was narrated by Tom Hanks. So I was wondering if you could get into that side of the story, because I thought the video was absolutely spot on, and you got Tom Hanks to narrate it. How did that come together?
Well, first and foremost, I think our marketing communications people, Alex King, Curtis Danberg, and the group really had a wonderful plan of attack. As we wanted to announce the historic team name change. And that was just to filter out over social media the video and just see how people would react. That video to date has had more than 5 million hits, has run in its entirety on a variety of the national networks, MSNBC and CNN and ESPN, and all of them have shown it in its entirety. As we were looking to do that, to execute that plan, we thought, okay, who could we get? What's the list of people that we could get to be the narrator? You know, who would really make this thing pop and people take notice? And also somebody who has a passion for who we are and what we stand for, and was a positive force in bringing along the change, who embraced the team name change. And as we got to that list, obviously on a very short list, Tom Hanks was at the very top of the list. And people don't realize, but he grew up in Oakland, and only because of his early acting career when he was an intern at the Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival that was held at my high school, Lakewood High School, in the summertime, did he become a Cleveland Indians fan. His summers when he was, 20 to 23, 4 years old, somewhere in there, consisted of him being an intern and acting and working on the Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival at Lakewood High School, and then going to Tribe games. I mean, that was his summers in Cleveland. Well, one of my close friends from high school, Holly Folger, wanted to be an actor as well. And so after she graduated, she was a year behind me in high school. And after she graduated, she worked on the Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival. And so she got to know Tom very well. And there's a group, Holly tells me, that Tom and her and about 3, 4 others who have stayed in touch since they've been 19, 20, 21 years old. And so Holly went out to Hollywood and has acted in a number of things. She was on the Ellen DeGeneres TV show, and was Aunt Judy and Xenon. Some people who might be watching either saw it or their kids know about it. And so she's my go-to. You know, I've dealt with Mr. Hanks a couple times, on various things. And so I sent a note to Holly saying, on a very confidential issue, I was wanting to connect with Tom, and would you give me his most current email address? Because here's 2 emails I have for him, but I don't think either of them are accurate. And she sends me a note right away saying, absolutely. And within 15 minutes, I get an email back from him saying, those are not my emails, but here's the one that works. And I would love to help you guys out. What do you have in mind? And so I laid out the plan of attack, and we emailed each other for about 6 weeks, constantly. The most gracious man. He was traveling through Greece, Ray, traveling through Greece on vacation, and would stop And one day after we sent him the script, he sent me 4 versions of the narration and said, which one of these do you really like? And the one that you like, perhaps I can get at some point during my travels to a more quality microphone and we can record that. So he's like asking me for direction. You're like, what the that just makes no sense at all. And and he did it off his phone, Ray. He did it off his phone, and
Wow.
we used the one that we used was just one that was off his telephone while he was traveling through Greece. And long story short, just relationships, Ray. You and I talked about it a million times. I don't think there's anything more important in life than relationships. And Holly and I and her willingness to connect Tom and I on occasion, and this one for a very, very historic and important moment for our franchise. He was so fired up to do it. As a matter of fact, on the day that we announced it, I sent him the video, the finished product, and the news release, and just said, hey, today's the day. Historic moment in Cleveland baseball franchise history. We're changing the name. And I didn't know if he was still in Greece or back home in California. I sent it to him at like 7:15 in the morning on that Friday. And a couple hours later, I got an email from him that said, the video is just absolutely fabulous. I have Guardians fever, is how he responded. And then maybe about an hour and a half later, he sent me another email, Ray, just going, how's the reaction? How are people thinking, how they feeling about the change? Because he was invested and he's passionate about Cleveland Indians baseball. So pretty cool stuff.
That is Bobby DiBiasio with us. Hey, Bobby, brought to you by NECA-IBEW. A couple more questions, if you don't mind, on that. Bobby, who wrote the script? Because that's part of it that was really well done. And then maybe talk about the idea with the video corresponding with the script. I know there's a whole lot of players involved here, but I thought for that to come off the way it did, it had to be spot on. And I think you guys as an organization did that.
Well, thank you. I think the most proud aspect of it all, it was all done in-house. That was one way we could make sure that we controlled the message. It's pretty interesting, right? That nobody beat us to the punch on something this large, that people were out there searching and, wondering what ad agency, what group here, what group there, what production company might be dealing with it, and how a word or two could filter out that this is the name that the Indians had identified. Paul Hoynes wrote that we had settled on a name, but he had no idea what the name was, and that it still would take weeks for us to make the announcement. He did that on a Thursday, and we announced it on Friday. All done in-house. Tara Hewitt was the author of those words, and young lady in our office. And I'll tell you, Ray, she was so cute. She, when she sent me the script and I wrote back to her, I said, I have nothing to edit. I have nothing to add. I have nothing. This is absolutely wonderful work. And when Tom said that he would be willing to do the narration, sent her a note and said, oh, and by the way, Tom Hanks is going to be reading your words. And she wrote back to me, she goes, excuse me while I go over in the corner and cry a little bit. I'm sobbing right now. Tom Hanks is going to read my words. I mean, it's so cool. And Steve Asbury was the main man in our live entertainment group, our production crew that put the video together. Him and Nick Gambone, Kelly Dredge, that whole crew. Again, a number of people involved, all in our live entertainment production, scoreboard production crew. So that was really a proud moment, right? That it was all done in-house.
Well done as well. Bobby DiBiasio with us, Vice President, Cleveland Indians. Hey, Bobby, one more question on that. And I was up at the stadium last week for the afternoon game against the Cardinals. And as I'm milling around there, my wife says to me, she says, when will we be able to get Guardians gear? And I
Yeah.
said, well, we're still the Indians until the end of 2021. She said, well, when will we be able to do that? And I said, I really don't know. Let me ask Bobby. When can we get Guardians gear?
I don't have a specific answer for you. Obviously, in a perfect world, we'd be able to have something available for the holiday season. We'll wait and see. We again, in a perfect world, if we were a toothpaste or something, we would have had all this sort of thing branded out and prepared. And it just doesn't work that way in our world of professional sports with uniform needs and things of that nature. Um, so we believe me, Ray, when merchandise becomes available, you'll hear about it.
Well, the one thing I can say on that note, and then we'll get on to something else, is we weren't the only ones because we were milling around. It was a great crowd
Oh,
today. And there was a lot of people milling around saying, hey, look over there. Is there Guardians gear? Because you have the team shop inside the stadium.
yeah,
And there was a lot of people doing that. And I think that's what got my wife onto the subject. She said,
right.
wonder when it'll be available. So I think, Bobby, this is catching on pretty good.
Well, I think people, when they think of the name, um, it really does resonate with people. The word guardians is an incredibly strong name. It resonates and exudes loyalty and perseverance and strength and resiliency and all those things that I think people have a positive feel towards. Um, Interestingly, the fact that the DIANS, that's a happy coincidence. I mean, we didn't pick the name because it had the same letters as Indians. That wouldn't really be the way to go about picking a name for your franchise. But that's a happy coincidence. And also the second happy coincidence is, the Guardians on the bridge behind home plate of Progressive Field certainly brought that word guardians to the forefront to have us really consider it as a name, and then to have the statues that are, a historic landmark in our downtown area, also a happy coincidence. So merchandise wise, it doesn't work that way in baseball with the manufacturers of uniform design and things of that nature. We first had to come to grips with the name, go through the incredible complexities, which were enormous, and the legalities of securing a name. And now we begin the process of getting the application of that name to new uniforms and new merchandise.
Vice President of the Cleveland Indians, Bobby DiBiasio, with us with Hey Bobby, brought to you by NECA-IBEW. This past Saturday, Bobby, and by the way, he says hello, had a chance to MC a banquet picnic in the park with Rajay Davis, former Indians outfielder, and he went, Bobby D, good man. But anyways, I bring that up because I was at home plate at Canal Park doing this MC. It was a wonderful evening. But a lot of people might not understand, and I thought maybe you can educate in a nutshell, of course, how the minor leagues work with the Indians as far as, because you and I talk a lot about player development. It's so key for us, but you've got rookie ball, high A, low A, double A, triple A, all fueled by the Cleveland Indians franchise.
Correct. We have now, with the change in minor league baseball, a whole new agreement, a different agreement that hadn't been in place for almost 50 years in the game of baseball. For example, the New York Yankees had 10 farm teams, a competitive imbalance issue there. There was a need for baseball to try to, in everything we do, because we don't have a salary cap, and that the major markets are built around the revenue generation of their media dollars, where there's 15 of us, middle market to small market teams that are really focused on ticket sales and concessions as our basis for our revenue generation. So that's where the discrepancy in payrolls come in. So baseball decided we needed to have some competitive balance when it comes into the minor leagues and have only 4 teams per ball club. So there's the AAA, AA, high A, low A, and that's consistent among all 30 major league baseball teams. For example, Lake County went from a low A to a high A league, and Lynchburg went from the high A to low A for us. We have 175 plus athletes in the entire organization now. We still have teams in the Dominican League. We have teams in an Arizona fall league and summer league, as everybody else does. So there's a limit on how many players and teams you can have in your system. And for us, as you know, we value player development. And at the height of who we are as a baseball team, player development, providing every single resource possible to the young men who are involved in our organization. So therefore, that means we have to have a really strong relationship with our affiliates, you know, our friends in Columbus, our friends, you know, the Babby family in Akron. You know, we need to have a wonderful working relationship with the owners of those baseball teams as we provide the product for them to entertain their fans and make a business out of it. And we certainly do have wonderful relationships with all 4 of our affiliate ownerships.
And just so everyone understands, when Bobby is talking about competitive balance, if a team like the Yankees has 10 minor league teams, one, they're able to sign players from all over the place and develop these 400 athletes where they can develop these guys, move them up, where some of the teams like Bobby was talking about, 175. So it gives you, how do I want to say, a bigger barrel of pickles to pull your pickles from than some of the other teams.
Well, no question. And not only would they be able to corner the market on draft picks and things of that nature, but, you know, signing players from around the world, the Yankees and a few others who had more than 4 baseball teams. Everything we try to do in the game of baseball is try to create a competitive balance. And then it's up to each team to figure out how they're going to go about setting forth the course of action of how they want to, you know, produce a sustainable winning culture. And for us, it's providing every single state-of-the-art resource for our 175 athletes. And obviously the last 8 years plus, we've have a wonderful sustained winning culture as we've won more games in the American League than any other team, and only second to the Dodgers in all of Major League Baseball. Again, as we've talked about a million times, we just haven't crossed the finish line, which is what everybody wants, obviously, but 5 times in the postseason the last 8 years. You know, this ownership and this baseball front office and business front office to generate the revenue to support all this, we've done a pretty good job, I think.
Job well done, we might add. Bobby, thanks. A great show today. Hey, Bobby, with the Vice President of the Cleveland Indians, Bobby DiBiasio, brought to you by NECA-IBEW. Bobby, we'll do it again next week.
Sounds great, Ray. Thank you for having me. Take care. Go Tribe.